Today for the shiur for Parashat Mishpatim, we will look at a pasuk which appears in the Parsha, and the pasuk says, Verapo yerapeh. He should surely provide for his healing. What is the Torah talking about? A person hits his friend, he has to provide for his healing. But the Gemara wants to know. This appears in Tractate Brachot, Daf Samech Amud Aleph, 60a. Again, in Masechet Baba Kama, page 85a. What is the double language? Verapo yerapeh. He shall provide for his healing, but in Hebrew it's double language. Verapo yerapeh. You can say it with one word and end it. Yerapeh. What is verapo yerapeh? The double language, and the Gemara says an unbelievable thing. From here, we learn that there is permission for the doctor to heal. Why would we think that the doctor doesn't have permission to heal? Because if God is the one who caused the sickness, why are you intervening? Perhaps we don't have permission to intervene, and we have to wait till the person does tshuva, and God will remove his disease, his sickness. Says the Gemara, no. Verapo yerapeh, this double language comes to teach us that the doctor does have permission to heal. And therefore this gives us a chance to discuss a fascinating case, a real story that happened a few years ago. And what does the halacha want to tell us about it? What is the appropriate approach as far as halacha? What happened? A Jewish man was in the city of Tzfat for vacation on Shabbos. He had a heart attack. He was rushed to the hospital. The hospital in Tzfat is called Ziv. He was rushed there, and they tried to work on him. And there are a few Jewish doctors, and they tried so many different things. They pumped his heart, electrical shots, all kinds of things. Nothing seemed to be working. After a couple of hours, they realized this guy is never waking up again, and they wanted to leave the room, to go downstairs to prepare his death certificate. But there was one doctor who wasn't Jewish in the room, and he said, guys, I think we should continue. I think we should continue to work on him. There is a chance. But the Jewish doctor said, no, there is no chance. And they left. They went downstairs to prepare the death certificate. The doctor who wasn't Jewish continued working on this gentleman. And he worked for half an hour, for an hour, and after an hour and a half, Tchiyat HaMetim, this Jewish guy, the patient, came back to life. And this Jewish guy is so grateful, the patient, for what the doctor did for him. He says, I feel I have two birthdays. My biological birthday, and the day when I was revived by this doctor. And therefore he started giving him all kinds of gifts. He sends him chocolates and wine, and he formed a nice relationship with the doctor. After all, he feels that he saved his life. Fast forward 20 years. 20 years later, the patient heard that the doctor, who wasn't Jewish, lost function of both kidneys. And therefore the patient feels that perhaps it's the right thing for him to do, to donate his kidney to the doctor. After all, he saved his life. It's only right that he should save the doctor's life. And he went to the doctors and he asked, am I a good candidate? And they told him yes. Inherently, in every operation, there is some risk. The doctors told him the risk here is minimal, and you are a good candidate to be a donor of a kidney to the doctor who lost function of both kidneys. So now the patient, the Jewish patient, wants to know, should I do it or not? Am I allowed to donate the kidney to the doctor who is not Jewish? The patient explains why he feels that he must give his kidney. Adam HaRishon said to Hashem, it's not me, you're accusing me of eating from the tree that I wasn't allowed to eat. It wasn't me. It's that woman, that wife you gave me, Haisha asher natata imadi. She seduced me, therefore I ate. Rashi explains on that pasuk, ungrateful. This is how you answer Hashem. God gave you a wife, and the Gemara says that a man without a wife is a half a man. This is how you answer Hashem? Ungrateful. So this patient says, I don't want to be ungrateful. In fact, when the prophets rebuke Klal Yisrael, many times they use the language Bnei Adam. Why do they use this specific term, Bnei Adam? The commentators explain, they say, you are just like your great-great-grandfather, Adam HaRishon. You're ingrates. Why aren't you grateful to Hashem? So this patient says, this doctor gave me life. I don't want to be ungrateful, and I want to give him life. I want to save his life, just like he did. But can one give a gift to a goy? What seems to be the problem? Why should there be a problem? Because there is a pasuk in Parashat Mishpatim. The pasuk says, Lo techonem. In the Gemara in Tractate Avodah Zarah, the Chaf Amud Aleph explains this to mean three things. Lo techonem means you're not allowed to sell land in Israel to a goy. You're also not allowed to say, how beautiful is this goy. Lo techonem from the language of chen, charm, beauty. From the language of chanaya, parking. Not allowed to sell them real estate in Israel. And the third thing that Gemara explains, this pasuk lo techonem means you can't give them matnat chinam. You can't give a gift to a goy. Unless you're in some kind of a business dealings with this, something will happen. Something you will benefit from giving him a gift. Otherwise, you can't give a gift to a goy, to a non-Jew. If that's the case, asks the patient, am I allowed to give this kidney, which is a great gift, to a goy, to the non-Jewish doctor? It seems that we have to find some kind of a source, an early source, that you're able to do so. The Torah teaches us, the Torah says that Yosef taxed all the Egyptians, and they all gave Yosef their land, except for the Egyptian priests. Yosef didn't take their land. Why? Comes the Yonatan ben Uziel, a Tana. Yonatan ben Uziel explains, you know why that is? An amazing revelation. When the wife of Potiphar accused Yosef HaTzadik of doing what he did, he really didn't do anything. But this is what she claimed. He was with me. The Egyptian priests told her, listen, lady, wait a second. And they took that sheet that she claimed was stained with what she claimed to be after Yosef was with her. And they said, wait, we're going to analyze it. They took it to the lab. They came back after a few days and they said, lady, it's not what you claimed. It's egg whites. Has nothing to do with Yosef. And therefore Yosef felt such hakarat tov. He was so grateful to them. And that is why he didn't tax the Egyptian priests. That is why he didn't take their land. You see from here, perhaps, that one is allowed to give a substantial gift to the goy. Is this a good proof? It seems that this is not a very good proof, because this is being passive. He just didn't tax them. He just didn't take their land. But it doesn't show us that you can actually give to the goy. So perhaps we will find a different source. Two Jewish spies, Kalev and Pinchas, are sent to spy Eretz Israel. This is in the time of Yehoshua. And they go to a lady by the name of Rachav. She hides them there. What would happen if somebody would know that she was hiding them? They would decapitate her. That is clear. So before they leave, they feel, Rachav did such a great thing. And they tell her, we have some kind of a deal with you. When we're going to come back with our army, we're going to destroy everything here. However, we're going to keep you alive. You and your family, you hang this string outside your building, outside your house, and we're going to make sure nothing happens to you. But then they add three very strong words. Nafshenu tachtechem lamut. We are willing to do mesirut nefesh for you. We are willing to die for you. Why? Because you risked your life for us. We are willing to risk our lives for you. You see from here that if one saves you, you can save them. In fact, you are allowed to give your life over for them. This seems to be a very, very strong proof. This real case went to the greatest man of our nation, passed away 2 years ago. Maran, Harav Eliashiv Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha. And Harav Eliashiv said, this is not a good proof at all. Why is that? Because you're trying to compare what Rachav did, risking her life, to what the doctor did. What did the doctor do? He did what he gets paid to do. He worked on a patient, unlike the Jewish doctors who were lazy at that time. He continued working, which is great, which is the right thing for him to do. He didn't risk his life. And therefore, giving that kidney is not comparable to what he did. You should send him flowers and you should send him wine. Give him $1,000, perhaps more. Give him a substantial gift. But giving a kidney? You're comparing something you can't compare. The doctor did what he was supposed to do. He is hired to work on patients. And therefore, if the patient will give him the kidney, he will transgress the pasuk from Parashat Vayetchanan, Lo techonem. You are not allowed to give a gift to a goy. A free gift without a benefit associated with it, unless there is some kind of hakarat hatov, which has to be on the same level. It's not the same level. What the doctor did here is work for his paycheck. He did everything right. And for the extra effort that he put in compared to the Jewish doctors, he should be compensated. With what? With $1,000, perhaps more. Not with a kidney. If this case was with a Jewish patient, Jewish doctor, then it would be a tremendous mitzvah to donate the kidney. No obligation. He doesn't have to donate, but it will be a tremendous mitzvah. But he doesn't have to do so. Since we are on the subject of doctors and patients, we will tell an amazing story that happened a few years ago in the city of Bnei Brak. There was a little boy who almost died. They rushed him to the hospital. Major operation. Saved his life. In the morning, the father of this boy goes to the doctor. He says, "Doctor, thank you so much. You were just the right shaliach, the right emissary, right messenger in the hands of Hashem. Just the right person in the right place to save my son's life. Thank you so much." And the doctor says, "What are you talking about? I'm no shaliach. I'm not a messenger. I don't know what you're talking about, Hashem. I saved your boy's life." And the father says, "What are you talking about? God saved my son's life. He sent you as the right person to help him." The doctor says, "Listen, God hasn't been here for many years in this hospital. I run this place. I run this department. And just like I saved your son's life, I saved many, many people's lives. I didn't see God that you're talking about many years. I'm in control here, not God." And the father is startled. He can't believe how the doctor is speaking, so he starts arguing with him. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours, they argue with each other. Yes, there is God, no, there isn't God. And after 2 hours, finally the doctor tells him, "Listen, buddy, if you really think there is a God, you have 24 hours to prove it to me." Well, what do? The father leaves the hospital and he starts thinking, what do I do? He decided to go to one of the greatest people in Klal Yisrael, Harav Chaim Kanievsky. Sheyichya leorech yamim tovim amen. May he live a long, healthy life. And he told him what happened. And Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky asked him, "Why did you argue with the doctor? Was it for heaven's sake? Or perhaps it was on a personal level?" You know how it is. You start arguing with someone, you want to make sure you are the one who is right. And the father said, "I definitely started L'Shem Shamayim, for heaven's sake. I don't know how it evolved, but I definitely started for the right cause. And if that's the case," says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, "you can go home." The father says, "Fine, but what do I do? What do I say to prove it to him? He gave me 24 hours to prove to him that there is a God, and he is in control of everything." And Rabbi Kanievsky told him, "Don't worry, go home." So that's what he did. In the morning, the father gets a phone call from the hospital. "Please come fast to the hospital." And he rushes to the hospital. And he goes to the nurse and he asks her, "Is my son okay?" And the nurse says, "Yeah, sure. He's, slowly advancing. He seems to be okay." "Why are you asking?" And the father says, "So why did you call me to come to the hospital?" And the nurse says, "I didn't call you." "So who called me to come here?" asks the father. And the nurse says, "I don't know. Go speak to the head nurse." And he does. He goes to the head nurse and he asks her, "Is my son okay?" And she says, "Yes, he is. Slowly but surely he's advancing and he's doing great." So the father asks, "So why did you call me and tell me to come here?" And the head nurse says, I didn't call you to come to the hospital. So who called me, asks the father. And the head nurse says, I don't know, go speak to the doctor. He goes into the doctor's office and he says, Doctor, did you call me? Yes, I did. Is my son okay? Yes, your son is doing okay. So why did you call me, asks the father. And the doctor says, you remember what we were discussing yesterday? Remember Hashem? Yes, Hashem. No, Hashem. Is there a God or there isn't? If he's in control of everything or not? You are right. You are right. Asks the father, how do you know? Did God reveal himself to you last night? And the doctor suddenly says, can you please close the door and sit down? The father does that and he sits down. Then the doctor lowers his voice and he says, you know, I'm 60 years old. I'm the head of the department here. But you know, something happened to me last night. I wet my bed. This never happened to me before. I wet my bed like a little baby. And then I realized God is in control. Even of those little things that we take for granted, it is God who is in control at all times. Yes, you were right. God is in control, not us. Perhaps we will mention another thing which happened with Rabbi Eliashiv, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. After his big operation, he had a doctor who was not Jewish, coming from the United States. And everything he had to communicate with him was through the grandchildren who translated. Rabbi Eliashiv didn't speak any English. But when it came time to say thank you to the doctor, Rabbi Eliashiv insisted that his grandchildren teach him how to say Todah, thank you, in English. And he said it a few times until he felt comfortable. And then he said to the doctor, thank you, in his own language, in English. But then the grandchildren asked him, for everything else you relied on us to ask the most difficult questions about your medical condition, about the operation. Why is it that when it came time to say thank you to the doctor, you insisted to say thank you in English? And Rabbi Eliashiv told him saying thank you in a language that one doesn't understand means nothing. Why? What was his proof? Explain, Rabbi Eliashiv. We daven Shmoneh Esrei, the silent prayer, and then the Chazan does his repetition. We rely on the Chazan as our messenger to take our tefillot, to take all of our prayers, to take them upstairs. However, when it comes to Modim de Rabbanam, when it comes to say thank you, we say, no, Mr. Chazan, we will do this on our own. And we bow down and we say thank you to Hashem. We rely on the Chazan for everything. Asking for parnasah, asking for refuah, asking for wisdom, for everything. Chazan, you can do it for us, but when it comes time to say thank you, no, Mr. Chazan, we want to be involved. And we bow down and we say thank you to Hashem. Thank you to the creator of the world. May it be that we should always recognize God. May it be that we should always be able to say thank you to Hashem, to really appreciate everything we have. May it be that we shouldn't need the service of doctors. We should be healthy. We should have a long, healthy life.